Well, welcome everybody. We are back with Who's in Your Pit Crew segment. In the industry, I hear a lot of questions about appraisers, appraisals, like what happens? How do I make it right? What if it comes in too low? How can I affect that? Can I affect that? So I thought it would be a really good idea to find an appraiser. And I was lucky enough that my friend Cheryl Hoke actually turned me on to Jeff Alpert, and he's going to be our guest today. So Jeff, tell everybody hello.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Alpert with Action Appraisal Services. I've been appraising about 23 years and have a lot to share with you.
Well, we're looking forward to it because I feel like this is like a mystery piece of the pie, especially for a new agent that perhaps has never worked through the process. So I think it'll be interesting, and I hope you all are signed in. If you have questions as we're going through the process, please just post it in our comment section, and we'll be happy to get it answered for you. So Jeff, we're going to go ahead and just really talk at the very beginning. So when someone has a need for an appraisal, how is that, who contacts who, and how is that communicated?
Well, I mean, it goes in so many different ways, but basically, for a realtor, it would generally be either the lender would contact us and tell us that they need an appraisal done on a certain property, or the lender could hire an appraisal management company. You'll hear that set called an AMC. And then the AMC will call us and say, this property needs to be appraised. But we appraise for so many different types of people or entities. Like realtors will hire us when they have a listing and they don't know what the property's worth. So then they'll hire us just to get an idea, because you have to understand, we're, as an appraiser, we do this every day, all day, but many realtors, they're not appraisers. So a lot of times they don't know what to list their homes for. And so
Okay.
it works to get a good idea. But basically the people that hire us, it could be a lender, it could be an appraisal management company, it could be
Okay.
a realtor, sometimes it's a homeowner.
Those are the most two common ways, though. Typically, you're being hired through the mortgage lender or through the appraisal company.
Right.
Okay.
For a sale of a home.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the most important thing to consider when scheduling an appraisal?
Okay, yeah. So if you want, I have all the questions and I can run through them if you want. And that is the first question. The most important thing to consider is safety. That is the number one concern, whether you're sending an appraiser to a home inspector, you're going to show a buyer a home, you're going to have a contractor come to a home to work on any repairs. The number one thing you need to think of, it's not value, it's not location, it's safety. And some things we like to talk about is, if there are any animals on the property, like dogs, make sure that they're either removed or secure. I have been bitten by dogs, nothing serious, but it's never fun. Walk the house and just do some observation. If you see a huge wasp's nest, spray it. I've been stung. If the grass is 3 feet high, we have to measure around the house, cut the grass. If there are any railings that are loose, if you can't repair it, at least tell us. Or tell the home inspector or the buyer you're showing the house. No one wants to get injured at the house. So the number one thing you need to know is safety.
So Jeff, I'm going to chime in there, and those are all great tips too for your home inspection portion, right? Because we have to see around the foundation. If your grass is high, we can't really evaluate correctly. If you have a dog, we don't ever want Fluffy getting out, so please secure your dog. So there's just a lot that you just said that really kind of applies to both industries. So I think that's significant. And I know a lot of times people confuse a home inspector with a home appraiser.
Yeah.
And so they are two different pieces of your puzzle. And we are actually doing an evaluation of the health of the house. And you're coming in telling people what it should cost, correct? That's what they right.
The appraiser will tell you the value. The home inspector is going to tell you the systems of the house and what's efficient and what's working well.
We're losing your audio for some reason.
All right.
All right. All right. So, how should an agent communicate upgrades or improvements to an appraiser?
Okay, the easiest thing to do for this is include everything on MLS. So
Okay.
when you're doing the listing, um, put what's new and when it was new, and that's going to save us a lot of time. Because then we don't have to call you and ask you. It's already there in MLS, so that helps.
Okay.
Um,
Um, okay. And when should an agent not schedule an appraisal?
okay, this has happened to me many times. By the way, can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, yeah, I just moved it a little closer. Okay, I only asked this question because it's happened before. So if your seller is having a garage sale, not the best day to have the appraisal. I've shown up to the house and there's like tons of people and I'm just driving down the street and I'm thinking, boy, I hope that's not the house I'm appraising. And sure enough, it is. There's tons of people, cars, because they're having a garage sale. So just make sure they're not having a garage sale when we schedule the appraisal. Also, if let's say the house is being worked on, so they're putting a new roof on Tuesday, don't schedule us for Tuesday. Wait till
Gotcha.
Wednesday. And a lot of these are very common sense, but since it happens all the time, we talk about it and we want to let you know. Also, if the house is tented on Tuesday, don't schedule us Tuesday. And that's
Oh,
how.
wow. You actually run into that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy.
wow.
Well, you would think common sense, but so yeah.
Sometimes we fall a little short in that category.
No, it's perfect. Okay, so let's say we have an appointment to do the appraisal on a vacant house Monday at 9 a.m. and you're not going to be there, and you don't need to be there. If it's vacant, we can just go and do our thing. If the appraisal scheduled Monday at 9 a.m., be available. And I'll tell you why, because I got to a house and the lockbox code was not working.
Okay.
Tip, give us the right lockbox code. So it wasn't working. So, and I couldn't get a hold of the realtor, and so I'm kind of stuck. So I just did my outside work, kept calling. Finally, about a half hour later, the realtor calls me back. They were in a meeting. So here's the thing. If you know you're going to be in a meeting, don't schedule the appraisal for that time, because if the appraiser needs you and we can't get a hold of you, that's a problem. Like if we can't get into the house, or let's say there's an emergency situation and we need to get hold of you right away, don't go into a meeting. Or don't schedule the appraisal for the time you're in a meeting, or at least tell the appraiser, I'm in a meeting 9 to 9:30, and that way we know.
You're
Go,
unavailable.
yeah,
So,
go. Yeah.
what is the best practice? Should an agent actually meet you at the property? I mean, do you prefer that? Do you prefer them not to be there? Like, what is best
Yeah.
practice in your opinion? It's just your opinion now.
Yeah,
So,
I would say most appraisers would prefer that you do not come, and it's for many reasons. First of all, we're taking pictures of the house, and I can't tell you how many times I have to ask the realtor, mind moving to the next room, because I got to get a picture of this room, and then I'm going to the next room like, I'm sorry, can you go to another? I mean, I don't mind if the realtor's there. It's just easier if they're not. Also, back in when I was a new appraiser, like my first year, I'm talking to the realtor, I'm doing my thing. I get back to my office, I'm like, and I'm looking at my paperwork. Oh, I completely missed this. And why did I miss it? Oh, I was distracted. I was talking and I wasn't paying attention. So
yep.
I would say, even if you do come, let us do our work, like either, I don't know, wait in the car, or just go in a room where we're not, after we're finished, let us do our work. And then after we're done, then let's talk and have a conversation. Because I do love talking to realtors, but I have to consciously know, okay, I can't get distracted, because if you're at your office and you're doing your work and like someone's trying to talk to you and ask you questions, you're distracted. So you don't need to come. Now, if you want to give us comps, a lot of appraisers get offended. I don't. I want to know everything that can help me appraise a property the most accurate. So yeah, I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know the comps you're looking at. So if you want to give us comps, you can either give them when we're there, but if you don't come, email it, text us. all we really need is the addresses. And you should only be giving 3 or 4 comps. I mean, if you're going to give us 10 comps, we can't go through 10 comps because I guarantee you 80% are not going to be good comps. Give us like the 3 or 4 best comps, and I think most appraisers will look at them and go through it. No, you don't need to be at the house.
So you don't need to be there, but you want to be communicated with. You, first of all, you want to actually know their availability matches the time that they have scheduled. And you also wouldn't mind having an email with the comps of the property, so that you have something to look at. Probably saves you a little bit of time as well, right?
No, not me, because I'm going to find my own comps.
Right.
But whatever comps you have, I'm going to just look at them and say, should I use it? Should I not use it? But yeah, you don't want to come because you're wasting your time. You need to be out there hustling, right? You don't want to sit at an appraisal for an hour, I don't know, just hanging out.
I find it very interesting, like the similarities between what you're doing and then what the Florida Building Inspection Group does, because we too say best practice, show up 45 minutes prior to the end of the inspection so that we can do our job, not be distracted, not have the possibility of missing something. And then your time is valuable because, like you said, they have to be back out there in the world, looking for their next lead. And when they're spending 2-3 hours with us and then an hour or so with you, that's time is money, right?
I don't mind if a realtor comes, but just let an appraiser do his thing.
Do their job.
It's like a home inspector. Let them do their thing, and then when they're done, then let's go out,
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. So let's talk about FHA. So FHA has some specific things that they're looking for. So what are some common FHA repairs?
Okay, so FHA has strict guidelines, unfortunately. So some important things to know are, and this is the most common one, peeling paint if the home is built before 1978. Or it could be 1978 and before. I'm not, I have to look that up. Just say 1978 and before. If it has peeling paint, we have to make the appraisal subject to that peeling paint being repaired. So like I said, when you're doing your walkthrough for safety, if it's an FHA appraisal, look at some of these things to note. So maybe before the appraiser comes, you get someone out there to fix the peeling paint. Also, if there are exterior cracks, we're going to mention that in the appraisal. We don't know if the exterior cracks are common or if it's the beginning of a sinkhole.
Right.
And so we're the eyes and ears of the lender because they're not on site, we are. So we're going to say what we see. So we're going to say we see an exterior crack.
Right.
We don't know, we're not a structural engineer, so any questions should be addressed to a structural engineer. Now, of course, that raises red flags to the lender. So when you're having your home inspection, which is usually before us, just ask the home inspector, is this normal? Is this something is this a sinkhole we need to get repaired? Generally, it's just nothing because cracks are very common. Most houses have them. It's just something to know. And if you want to have the home inspector let you know that it's nothing, then we can mention that in the appraisal. Hey, there were cracks mentioned. There's a home inspection done. And they say it's not structural. It's just cosmetic. Another thing, like I think we mentioned railings, make sure they're secure. And also, if you have a patio and it's 30 inches or more off the ground, it needs a railing for safety. Like a deck, let's say the deck is 30 inches off the ground and a small child could just walk off and fall and injure themselves. Make sure you have a railing. That's something we're going to call. That's a safety issue.
Okay. So again, you're looking for safety, and I'll just go back and comment on the settlement cracks. That's what we notate them. That's how we notate them in the inspection report. We see that in almost every home. Once you get to the size of a quarter or you can see through the home on a crack, that's a problem. But typically you'll see that on most inspection report settlement cracks, and really the ground shifts and things expand, and decrease here in the state of Florida with all of our humidity and rains and all of that. So definitely here in particular, you're going to see settlement cracks. And 9 times out of 10, they're really nothing more than fill in the cracks, paint over them so that you're sealing out the bugs.
Most of these
Right.
Most of the things we're going to mention on every type of appraisal, it's just mainly the peeling paint is something that you mentioned on the appraisal.
Okay. All right. So what if the value does not come in as the agent had expected? How would they dispute that value?
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why the value won't come in. Like I said before, realtors are not appraisers. We do this every day, all day. Y'all don't. So if you guys price a house too high, it's not your fault because you're not an appraiser. If you price it too low, it's not your fault. You're not an appraiser. I turned down an appraisal yesterday. The home was going to appraise 50,000 less than the contract price, and I just said, I'm too busy to deal with everyone calling and yelling at me. But I'm doing one today, actually, when we leave. This is going to appraise about 50,000 higher than the contract price. So, like I always say, whether you call an appraiser, if you're not sure, call an appraiser, get an appraisal done. I always say, if you're going to spend $200,000-$300,000 on a house, sometimes more, it's worth $450 to get an appraisal to see what it's worth. Now, if a house appraises for less than the contract price, now there are many reasons. Let me tell you a misconception. One misconception is if your house doesn't appraise, it's a bad appraiser. Oh, but if your house does appraise, it's a good appraiser, right? So let me just say, if the house doesn't appraise, it may be a bad appraiser. It may be that the house is just priced too high, but regardless, if you think you're right and it appraised too low, what you want to do is you can dispute this with the lender.
Okay.
So what you would want to do is just ask the lender if they can review the appraisal. And a good way, and you want to give them evidence. You just don't want to say, well, I think it appraised way too low. What's the lender going to do with that? What you want to do is you want to give them reasons why. You want to give them proof. So here's what I tell people. If you think, and this doesn't really happen a lot with me, but if it does, I say, look, if all the comps I used are bad or too low, tell me why. Because maybe it's something I'm not seeing. For example, if you know the neighborhood that well and you know this one sale is a distress sale, like the owner was going to get relocated for a job, and so they just sold it real quick and for below market value, that might not be something they put in MLS.
Gotcha.
I know, put everything in MLS so we know whether we should use the comp or not. So if it's a relocation situation, maybe I didn't know. So yes, maybe that's a bad comp. So I would say tell the lender all the reasons why the comps the appraiser used are bad. And then usually it's 3 comps. Why are all 3 comps bad? And then give the lender the 3 comps you think the appraiser should have used. So say to the lender, these 3 comps are better. They're more comparable. They indicate a higher value. And these are the comps we think the appraiser should have used. And ask the lender, can you review this? And can you tell the reviewer, these are why we don't like these comps. These are the reasons we wish the appraiser had used these comps. And see what the reviewer says. And then the lender might ask the appraiser, can you consider these comps and amend your appraisal? And if the appraiser doesn't amend the appraisal, and if the review appraisal or the review appraiser doesn't agree with you, like I said, you're spending a few $100,000 on a home, maybe ask the lender, can you do a second appraisal? We're spending 300 grand on a house.
Right.
We'll give you 450 because we think this appraisal is so bad. We're willing to pay 450 to get a new appraisal, and ask the lender, would you do this?
So question for you, how, if the appraisal cannot be reversed, how long does it actually stay with a property?
That's something you have to ask the lender.
Okay.
I
So
have
that's
no idea.
specific okay. So that's by a lender. All right. Very good. Why does an appraiser sometimes ask unusual questions?
I knew you'd love this one. Okay, just really quick. When I'm appraising a vacant house, I always ask, are there dogs on the property? And the reaction I usually get is, it's vacant. Why are you asking me this? You know, I can hear them saying in their mind, this is a dumb question. I just told you it's vacant. Why are you asking this? I don't want them to lose confidence in me because I'm like some bad appraiser who's asking stupid questions. So I always, I always explain myself. I say, is the house, does the house have dogs? And they're like, no, it's vacant. I said, it's vacant. And I say, okay, I'm only asking because it's happened before. I've gone to vacant homes and there have been dogs on the property. And I learned my lesson. I never asked that question before. So if you hear a question and you're like, why are they asking? Just go with it.
It's from your experience of things that could happen, right? It's
No, I ask, is the house vacant? They say yes. I would never think to ask if there's a dog there because it's vacant.
yes.
But I did go in the backyard because I was, and yes, there was a dog there. And thank God he didn't see me because I think it was like a Rottweiler or something. And I could have been in some big trouble there.
Right.
So just go with those questions.
Just if they ask you something unusual, just answer it, right?
All right.
Okay. Why is it important for an agent to include pictures of all rooms in a home on the MLS?
Again, this is something I've run into. So I see 40 pictures in MLS. There's no picture of the kitchen. That is so important. The kitchen is one of the most important things to have a picture because does it have granite or quartz counters? Is it like totally gutted and renovated? Or is it like a 1960s kitchen with vinyl counters? That really has a big thing in determining the condition. Even if the bathrooms are 1960s, if the kitchen is totally gutted and renovated and it's a $30,000 kitchen, the house is going to be considered in better condition because of the kitchen. So just include all pictures if you can. It helps us out because then we don't have to call you if we want to use your listing as a comp. We don't have to call you and say, hey, what does the kitchen look like? I saw 40 pictures, but none of the kitchen. And we do see this. So just include all pictures of the house.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, the next one was, what's a bedroom? What's a bedroom criteria? So generally people think of bedrooms as they have to have a closet. Technically, they don't. Now, a buyer is going to expect one. And if it doesn't have one, they might be a little pissed and say, why did you say this is a bedroom? It doesn't have a closet. Are you trying to trick me? Or this is really a den? Technically, the criteria for a bedroom, and if you're going to put it in MLS as a bedroom, you might want to say, okay, fourth bedroom doesn't have a closet, but we're considering it a bedroom. The criteria for a bedroom, there has to be two methods of egress. That means two methods of entrance and exit. So you have to have a door, obviously, to get in, but there has to be at least a second door or a window to like escape in a fire. So there has to be two ways to enter and exit. One is always a door, obviously, and then there either has to be another door or a window. Technically, the window has to be about 3 feet off the ground. If it's like a high window, I wouldn't consider that a bedroom because you have to be able to use that window to escape in an emergency. The ceiling has to be at least 7 feet high. The room has to be heated and cooled. And the room has to be at least 70 square feet. So, if you're going to label something a bedroom, like I said, and it doesn't have a closet, just say it doesn't have a closet.
So how many square feet?
70 square feet at least.
70 square feet. Okay, that is truly a box, right?
Yeah, but technically, you can consider it a bedroom if it has those 4 criteria.
Gotcha. Okay. So the 4 criteria is 2 egress, entrance and exits, 3
Yep.
feet, a window that is 3 feet off the ground, 7 feet ceilings, and then
Yep.
it must be heated and cooled and at least 70 square feet.
Yeah, and that's according to the International Residential Code.
Okay.
All 50 states follow that.
Okay. All right. So you had said a couple of different times that $450 for an appraisal. So that is the fee, correct?
That's a general fee.
A general fee.
Some people will charge more, some people will charge less, some lenders will pay more, some lenders pay less. Some appraisal management companies pay more, some pay less, but that's a general fee.
And your fee is collected at time of appraisal, or is that something that is collected at the closing table?
It depends who's hiring us. So if it's a lender, it depends who's hiring us.
Okay.
So if it's the lender or appraisal management company, they pay us after we submit the appraisal.
Okay.
I don't know how they get their fee.
Okay.
Whoever is applying for the loan, I think they may be paying for the appraisal when they apply. It may come out of closing. I don't know that part.
Okay.
Now, if a homeowner or realtor hires me to appraise a home,
Okay.
I'll pick up a check or whatever when I am at the house.
Okay.
If I'm hired privately.
So again, much like a home inspector, these are one of the costs that actually just needs to be set aside. A home inspector, on average, 2,500 square feet or below, you're about $450. Same thing with you as an appraiser, you're looking at about $450, right?
Yeah.
On average. Not everything on average. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything that I've missed, Jeff, today that you think is important that our viewers actually hear from you?
I mean, I think we covered the most important questions. If anyone else has a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Okay. And Jeff's information is scrolling across the bottom. So if you do have any questions or comments, his email address is there. His phone number is there. You can reach out to him. He is with Action Appraisal Services. So Jeff, thank you so much for being our guest today. And have a great 4th, you know. It's right around the corner. No fireworks, but have a great 4th anyway, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.